Couple of notes of appreciation. First of all, to the Prime Minister of Pakistan and to Field Marshal Munir, who were both incredible hosts. And whatever shortcomings in the negotiation, it wasn't because of the Pakistanis, who did an amazing job and really tried to help us and the Iranians bridge the gap and get to a deal. We have been at it now for 21 hours, and we've had a number of substantive discussions with the Iranians. That's the good news. The bad news is that we have not reached an agreement, and I think that's bad news for Iran much more than it's bad news for the United States of America. So we go back to the United States having not come to an agreement. We've made very clear what our red lines are, what things we're willing to accommodate them on, and what things we're not willing to accommodate them on. And we've made that as clear as we possibly could, and they have chosen not to accept our terms.
Precisely what have they rejected here? Can you help us understand it a little bit?
Well, I won't go into all the details because I don't want to negotiate in public after we negotiated for 21 hours in private. But the simple fact is that we need to see an affirmative commitment that they will not seek a nuclear weapon, and they will not seek the tools that would enable them to quickly achieve a nuclear weapon. That is the core goal of the President of the United States, and that's what we've tried to achieve through these negotiations. Again, their nuclear program, such as it is, the enrichment facilities that they had before, they've been destroyed. But the simple question is, do we see a fundamental commitment of will for the Iranians not to develop a nuclear weapon, not just now, not just 2 years from now, but for the long term? We haven't seen that yet. We hope that we will.
Well, what is happening at the US-Iran talks? Let me analyze the manifold takeaways from this very, very crucial global development. You are aware that the US delegation headed by J.D. Vance and Iranian delegation headed by the nation's parliament speaker had 21 hours of negotiations in the capital of Pakistan, Islamabad. Well, what did J.D. Vance say? You can see the video here, directly from J.D. Vance. But let me now interpret what has happened. One, the final agreement or final deal could not be arrived at. This is very clear from the J.D. Vance statement. We are returning home without a deal. So that's what J.D. Vance said. So there is no final consensus. There is no final agreement. So that is what J.D. Vance has said, and it is a fact number one. So the first takeaway is the talks did not yield in any deal. Therefore, it is a failure in that context. Number two, but if you look at the tone and tenor of J.D. Vance's statement, what do you understand? What do you infer? J.D. Vance said very clearly that the good news is that we had substantial talks with Iranians. So therefore, if those substantial talks did not yield in anything, it can't be good news. Even if there is substantial talks, if it did not yield in any result, how can it be good news? Then why did the Vice President of the United States call it good news? That really shows that there is always light at the end of the tunnel. So the Pakistani side has also made it clear that a deal could not be arrived at. However, the talks between the two countries at a technical level will continue. Therefore, the talks have failed but did not collapse. That's the second point. Third point is, well, normally when the talks collapse, if the talks fail, the previous statements of Donald Trump clearly indicate the hell will fall in Iran. But there are no signs of hell falling in Iran, or as Iranians threaten, there are no signs of West Asia turning into hell yet. But there is a caveat here. The situation is rapidly changing. What I am telling is, as on April 12th at 12 noon, well, the things may change at any moment at an unprecedented pace. So then coming to the fourth takeaway, why did these talks fail? So I have already shown you what J.D. Vance said. So there is no explanation whatsoever, but there is an indication. The indication is J.D. Vance's statement that we could not get an affirmative commitment that Iran will not produce nuclear weapons, not just now, but 2 years from now, or even in the long term. So the United States wanted to extract a permanent agreement or a permanent affirmative assurance that Iran will not go nuclear. So that seems to be the major hurdle in the ongoing talks between the United States and Iran. The fifth one is, even before the talks did start, there were indications that Trump was giving some concessions. So $6 billion of Iranian frozen assets in the Qatari bank are being released. Well, we don't really know what will happen after this failure of talks, but before the talks begin, this assurance came from United States as a goodwill gesture. What are these frozen assets? Iran was selling oil to several countries prior to Trump's breakaway from US-Iran deal. You are aware that the United States under the Obama administration arrived at a deal with Iran, which is called Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. As per the JCPA, Iran was selling oil. So Iran sold oil to South Korea worth $6 billion. Well, in 2018, Trump withdrew from the deal and said that he is freezing the Iranian assets. So South Korea is a friendly nation to the United States, and therefore the South Korean payments that were due to Iran were frozen. But in 2023, there was a prisoner swap agreement under the Biden administration with Iran. As per that agreement, the South Korean held money which is due to Iran had to be given back to Iran. So these funds were transferred from South Korea to Qatari banks. But in the meantime, Hamas launched a heinous attack on Israel, and US in protest, considering Hamas as a proxy of Iran, has frozen the $6 billion assets. This money is very crucial and critical for Iran, which is completely battered due to war and decades of sanctions. So similarly, then the seventh aspect is, so the Strait of Hormuz, Iran as of now said that the situation or the condition or the state of Hormuz will remain the same. So there is no improvement, there is a deadlock there. However, there are reports that the US minesweepers are moving towards Strait of Hormuz. Well, earlier there were reports that the Iran lost track of the sea mines it has laid on the sea. Well, where American minesweepers are coming? If there are no talks, if there is no possibility of talks, if Trump decides to go for a military option, it is not the minesweeper that should move towards Strait of Hormuz. It should be warships that should move. So US is not moving warships, it is moving minesweepers to Strait of Hormuz. Similarly, if there are no IRGC attacks, as of now there are no threats, if there are no IRGC attacks on the US minesweepers, we should infer that there is some sort of understanding between US and Iran. That may not be the final deal, that may not be the final consensus. But Strait of Hormuz is in the process of being let free. So this is another clear indication of this process. So as of today, let me conclude, talks have failed to yield a deal, but talks did not collapse. There is every possibility that the talks may continue at different levels. Though Iran has officially said that it is not going to enter into any negotiations, there are thorny issues which cannot be resolved in just 21 hours of negotiations. Even the official statement of Iran also acknowledged this. So the issues are so complex that negotiations in just a day will not yield a final consensus. However, even if there is a consensus, even if there is a deal which is worked out, that will never be done under the leadership of J.D. Vance. Ultimately, President Trump will do it. So, because he wants to get the credit as a deal maker, he will not give the credit to Asim Munir or J.D. Vance. So, therefore, as of now, well, we can't say it's a positive development, but it is still the scope for ending the war is there. However, as of today, the ceasefire will continue. There is no break of ceasefire. Neither the US nor Iran threatened to unilaterally cancel the ceasefire. Therefore, the ceasefire will hold. And there is no resumption of war as yet.